Hello and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be bot number 19 from Dubious positions and how to attack them. Again, this will be a bot discussing the central cannon versus the screenhouse defense. So without further ado, let us begin. Central cannon, screenhouse defense, and again in this bot, red will play p3 plus 1 for the third pawn advancement variation. Black would do likewise, and in this bot, red will play h8 plus 9 for the edge horse. Now this is a very big opening system. I play it quite often and it's very fun. So in this situation, red strives to develop material, to have balanced development of material on both flanks. And in this board, black would counter with e3 plus 5, which is considered to be orthodox. c8 equals to 7. Now, this is quite commonly seen, but in this situation, it would not be appropriate because black had already pushed the pawn forward and was ready to and could simply move the horse to the external rib file if red were to push the pawn, etc. Now, this is not a good idea in this situation, as will be seen, and I've made this mistake myself many times. So instead, the recommended move would be to play c8 plus 4 instead, because this cannon will still be able to attack this horse or limit its development with c equals to 7 or attack the pawn over here. This would be a much more versatile approach, and because of playing c8 equals to 7, it's fairly obvious that the cannon was going to attack the horse, and this would give black ample time to adjust and counter very accurately. So black moves the horse to safety, and suddenly this cannon would not have any target of attack. So this would be a very inefficient move. Now red continues with this move, which is considered to be one of the standard ways of playing the situation. And black developed the chariot in this manner. This is a very agile counter, and it's very tightly knit. It will lend support to this horse over here. Now, let's say if black played a4 plus 5 or p1 plus 1, black would have missed an opportunity to profit from this situation. Now, usually a4 plus 5 or p1 plus 1 is played, and the position on the board would transposition back to one of the most commonly played lines in Xiangqi opening tournaments nowadays. So r9 equals to 6. Again, this is considered. This would be what you would do if black had not pushed the pawn. h2 plus 1. Now, h2 plus 1 is a very good move because black had already played r1 equals to 2, and it will be protecting the cannon. So with the cannon protected, red would now not have the option of playing r6 equals to 8 to threaten to capture the material and thus pin the horse. And instead, black would now threaten to capture the cannon, forcing it to move immediately. Now, in this case, obviously, c7 plus 1 is usually played, because if c7 equals to 8, the cannon will move away and black would threaten the cannon. So red will be in all sorts of trouble. But moving the cannon over here is not a good idea either, because black would now be able to profit from this very awkward positioning of the red pieces by playing c2 plus 6. Now this is a very brilliant move, and black started his counter retaliation very quickly early in the game, attacking this flank. Now this would be the position of discussion, and there were two main variations that were discussed. One would be r6 plus 7, and the other would be r6 plus 1, so that the chariot is moved to safety. Now in the first variation, r6 plus 7 was played, and black would attack very aggressively with r2 plus 7. Now black should keep on pressing, black's the red pieces on his flank. Now, if he slowed the pace with a4 plus 5, red could counter by readjusting his formation with c5 equals to 4, I plus 4, e3 plus 5. Now, this will be a calm situation. Although black's pieces were not attacking, there were not many good intersections for the pieces to be played, and it will be a calm situation. So that is why black needs to be aggressive and play r2 plus 7. Now, red will try to trade material. After capturing the horse, red will do likewise, and black will counter with a very simple and powerful move of r1 plus 3, giving this horse some room to maneuver and attacking the cannon at this point in time. So after trading material, we can see that black would have 1, 2, 3 pieces. Red captured, and red would have 1, 2, 3 pieces. The number of major pieces is the same, but at this point in time, after 14 plies, we can see that black had already pushed 3 major pieces across the river and was already attacking the flank, whereas red had only pushed 1 carrot across the river. And black, in the process of doing so, black would also have provided some defense for his camp. So it is quite obvious that black had already seized the initiative from red and was already attacking. The extra pawn over here would mean that black would have the pawn advantage also. So red would try to even and try to offer some form of defense, but black would now start attacking. Now, at this point in time, red must make this move of a4 plus 5 because this flag was very vulnerable and to attacks by this the combination of the chariot, horse, and cannon. Red cannot think that he was able to attack this flank by maneuvering his chariot, because black would now play r3 equals to 4, threatening to capture the advisor, forcing the advisor to be raised, and then play h1 plus 3 to attack. Now, after this move is made, red will be in all sorts of trouble. Let's say red tried to checkmate with this move. Black could move his king to safety. Red tried to try to capture the cannon and also prevent the alpha from capturing it, but black would play very aggressively by capturing the advisor. So if red traded material, red would have lost an advisor. Black would simply capture the horse, and this advisor would now also be captured, and red would have a hard time dealing with the situation ahead. The horse would be in the open, it would be attacking all the pawns, and the black king was not in any form of mortal danger. So that is why r2 minus 2 is not a good move. Instead, red must defend first with a4 plus 5. Black would continue with r3 equals to 4. Black would try to retreat his cannon back for defense, thus discouraging h1 plus 3 from happening. But at this point in time, red will be on the defensive end while black will be attacking. It is fairly obvious that black will have better opportunities. So this is why h6 plus 7 is not a good idea. In variation 2, r6 plus 1 was played as black went on full defense. Now, black would now push his cannon across the river, preparing to attack. There are many options for this cannon later on, for example, playing c8 equals to 7, etc. c8 equals to 3 will be also a very powerful move. Red will play p5 plus 1, a prophylactic move, and black would now be prepared to play c1 plus 1 to attack the bottom rank. And with this move, this horse is offered additional extra protection. And once the cannon was on the bottom rank, black could play r2 plus 9 to threaten with a smarter cannon checkmate. Red tries to gain material with r6 plus 1, and black would retreat his cannon, reposition the cannon for further attack. At this point in time, there were two sub-variations that were discussed. The two sub-variations were a5 plus 6 and c5 equals to 4. In variation BA, the first sub-variation, a5 plus 6 was played as red tried to defend, but with this move he would also try to attack, offer some form of attack. So let's go to this sub-variation first. If this was so, black would now attack with c2 r2 plus 5, and red tries to provoke a tactical dispute with this move by sacrificing the pawn. Now if he played, say, c7 equals to 5 instead to attack the central file, black could make this very beautiful move of r1 equals to 4 to attack the chariot, forcing it away, and red will lose the advisor. The king would get a breather over here, and red would be all sorts of trouble. If he pushed the pawn, black would capture it with the horse, and this horse would also be safe, etc. p7 plus 1, b3 plus 1. Red tries to mount an offensive on the central file, and the pawn gets to the rook file in the nick of time, and black will link his pawns up. Red tries to block the elephants, to unlink the elephants, but black was prepared to sacrifice the elephant for attack. And after the check, king will now be moved to safety. Red tries to defuse some situation, but at this point in time it is fairly obvious that both colors were attacking, but black would have the advantage. If the cannon moved, c8 equals to 5 will be a discovered check, and red would lose the chariot. So variation BA is not to red's advantage. Now if red tried to change formation to save his king, this will signal that red was prepared to defend stubbornly. Let us see what would happen. Black attacks the bottom rank, p1 plus 1, applying a lot of pressure. Once the pawn crosses the river, the pressure over here will be very intense. Red tries to create some space, but he cannot play h3 plus 4 at this point in time, because if he did, black can counter with c8 plus 3 for a very brilliant counter, threatening to capture the elephant for a check and capture the chariot, since the horse had moved away and now the chariot was left unprotected. So that is why h3 plus 4 cannot be played, as this chariot needed some protection. r2 plus 4, the black chariot will now attack. Pawn crosses the river. Red tries to gain some compensation, but black would now play r2 plus 2 to threaten to capture the horse, and black has to defend in this manner, c4 minus 2. If he captured the pawn, thinking that he could protect the horse, red would immediately sacrifice this cannon and capture the chariot. If he did not, if moved, black would lose the cannon, and of course this would still be to black's advantage. So after trading material, because black was now down one chariot, black would force a trade of material, and basically it would be black's 1, 2, 3 pieces versus black's 4 pieces. But as can be seen, red's left hand was under lots of pressure, and without the mighty chariot, red would be in all sorts of trouble. The resulting situation would be red's 4 weaker pieces versus black's 3 very powerful pieces. And it is quite obvious that black would have the advantage in this situation. So that is why c4 equals to 9 is not a good idea. So if, let's say, red defended in this manner, black would now retreat his cannon to the riverbank and control the entire situation. So, as can be seen, black would prevail in this situation. Now, the reason why black was in such trouble was because he did not understand the implications of the moves earlier. So let us review the situation from the eyes of black. And I'll explain it a little bit more later. Central cannon, the screener's defense, third pawn advancement, edge pawn. Now this is considered to be orthodox. Now in this board, black played e3 plus 5. Usually, more commonly seen method would be to play e1 plus 1. But because e3 plus 5 was played, the cannon will now lack a target of attack, and that is why it was mentioned earlier, c8 equals to 7 would be a poor choice at this point in time. Now, black was playing according to habit, but he did not take into consideration the subtle changes in the situation. So black would immediately play h3 plus 2, the chariot will be developed as a rank chariot, and r1 equals to 2 will be a good move to protect the cannon as mentioned earlier. And because the cannon is protected, red does not have the option of r6 equals to 8 to threaten the cannon. Retreat, and black will attack very powerfully with this move. And from here on, two variations. Variation A, r6 plus 7, whereby after a trade of material, we can see that black had already pushed 3 pieces and was already attacking this flank very strongly. And needed reflective move, but we can see that at this point in time, black would have the huge advantage. Variation B, r6 plus 1, whereby red tries to defend a little bit, but once this was played, black would simply push his other cannon across the river for attack, and this will lead to a very complicated situation. At this point in time, black would now retreat the cannon, and there will be 2 sub-variations. The first will be a5 plus 6, and the other will be c5 equals to 4. In a5 plus 6, red still tries to mount an attack from a central file, hoping to play c7 equals to 5. So, but red would have none of it. He would attack with a cross riverbank chariot, a sacrifice, threaten the chariot, link the pawns, and black goes for attack with this move. F4 plus 1, c5 plus 5, the king is moved to safety, and black would now, both cards are attacking, but the pawn is too close to the palace, and red will be in all sorts of trouble. Remember, this is not a possibility because black can play this discover check and capture the red chariot. So back to variation BB, red tries to defend as best as could by switching formation. Red attacks, black attacks, red defends. The pawn will now be advanced to protect the horse if need be. R2 plus 4. And after a series of maneuvers, black will still have a very powerful attack going on. So the result of this resulting applied for red stemmed from the fact that he did not understand the situation and did not appreciate the fact that black had played e3 plus 5 and played c8 equals to 7. If e3 plus 5 had been played, red should have attacked with the 5-8 cannons or the powering cannon over here, and he would be much better off. So this is a slight change in the moves, and as one of the opening tenets of opening Xiangqi openings is that you have to adapt to the situation. But in this case, Red just kept playing his so-called proven formula, but this resulted in a very dubious position that allowed Black to exploit. So if you like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up for the video. Thank you.